All right, welcome in some midday Cowboys breaking news as Jadeveon Clowney coming in for a visit to the Star in Frisco. The Cowboys apparently not just working on physicality with their own guys. Today, they are bringing in a guy known for physicality, run stopping, and some pass rush help. Jadeveon Clowney, the former #1 overall pick. We're here to talk about it. Take it away, Jimbo.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Welcome into How About Wow, brought to you by Bet Online. Referral link in the description. I'm Gavin Dawson from The Fan, along with the former all-academic SEC lineman, Newbear Lesniewski. How the hell you doing, buddy?
You know, I'm good. I'm literally arguing with myself right now. Jadeveon. Did you see the thing the other day where Denzel Washington told the world that his name's actually pronounced Denzel?
Denzel, yes.
But he's a junior, so Mama Bear just changed the way so that they would know who they were talking to when you're hollering up the stairs, like Jadeveon.
When he came out of college, I thought it was Jadeveon, then I thought it was Jadeveon, and now I go back and forth. I don't know.
My favorite one of all time is Tyrod versus Tyrod Taylor. That's the greatest one ever.
Well, how about Bijan Robinson?
Yes.
Whatever case, Mr. Clowney is at the Star. Bleacher Report with a nice article here today, and inside of it down here, they look at some metrics in his lone season with Carolina: 22 pressures, 9 tackles for loss to go along with 5.5 sacks, 32% run stop win rate, 18% pass rush win rate, ranked 3 and 13 among all edge rushers last season. I've been watching some tape this morning as it, I believe, broke in the 9 o'clock hour here in the great state of Texas. He looked upright. He looked stiff. He didn't look explosive, but he plays so well with his hands in his position. And, he's pursuing ball carriers consistently. I think this is more about physicality and run stopping than pass rush. I think the Cowboys want to get him in, work him out, and see how athletic and smooth that he looks right now, because based on what he put on tape last year, it really looked like Father Time was knocking on the door.
Yeah, and Father Time undefeated, sure, but especially Mother Nature, whoever else you want to throw into this conversation, not kind to the former #1 overall pick. I mean, this guy at one time was the guy, super freak. Javon Curse, insert your favorite. And over time, he was the next one, and it was predestined, preordained, predetermined. Not so fast, my friend. Turf Monster gets him. Trash gets him in and out of the plays that he did not make at the outset of what we all assumed was going to be a run to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And then he got right? Year 3, 4, 5. Year 3 was his first All-Pro too. That's almost 10 years ago. That's 2016, Dak Prescott's rookie year. 3 Pro Bowls in a row. And then we see him start changing sceneries almost on an annual basis. You brought up the numbers, not the counting stats, but the data points, the win rate stuff, the success metrics. He was pretty damn good the year before in Baltimore. I mean, he was almost a double-digit sack guy. And in 2023, he played in all 17 games, which, to my knowledge, I think he's only done that twice, and this is year 12, and he's 32. My only thing, my big proof point, the thing I said to you when this came across was, if they don't do this, then the Detroit Lions are on line 2. You cannot let him leave the Star if he looks like he can move at all.
Yeah, especially with how bad it looked against the Eagles. I think this might be a direct reaction to seeing how maybe unready Ezeraku is, even though he's flashing tons of potential. We're really excited about his future. He's not going to be an edge setter, although he was elite in college. I don't think you can count on him doing that job for you in year 1 with the Cowboys. Sam Williams, undisciplined, technique issues. And then, Dante Fowler, just an absolute risk taker. But I think you put Clowney in this defensive line rotation along with Clark, since the end of training camp, you've made yourself a much more physical defensive front capable of stopping the run. I just continue to love what Brian Schottenheimer is emphasizing, not only for his roster in practices and in preparation for game day, but being able to manage up and getting the message home to the Jones boys and Will McClay that, guys, we can't just coach physicality and talk about it. We got to match that with our actions from the front office.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the George Pickens move, the very first thing I said is, what's behind door number 2? And the great thing about this is Kenny Clark is in the building. Micah Parsons not. Future ones, there's still more moves to come.
Absolutely more moves to come and more content to come here for you on How About Wow. Please do consider hitting the like button. That helps us grow. And also subscribe so you never miss when we upload or go live. How About Wow brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Okay, I'll get more on that for you in just a second. But here's owning. Clowney posted a 14.9 pass rush win rate in 2024. That's 20th among edges in the Pro Football Focus scoring. With at least 125 pass rush snaps last year. So that's two different outfits scoring based on numbers. And again, if you turn on this tape, I think you would think, wow, I'm kind of surprised he's that effective. But I think that goes to football IQ, football character, smarts, instincts, and ability to manage injuries. Maybe I know he was questionable week 17 with a knee. That might have been bothering him all season and preventing him from getting low because he was playing very upright. He looked like the Eric Dickerson of defensive ends last year for Carolina. Chill retweeting that saying, I'm all for signing Clowney, elite run defender, experienced pass rusher. This would be a good move. Softens the Micah blow. Today is more about checking the tires. Don't know if a signing is imminent, but we'll see. If you like the young ends, then add to it. He's closer to Lawrence than Nealon as a strong side end, and Nealon is on the come. So this would no doubt be a significant upgrade. It's not unlike the Steelers' Jabril Peppers move, where you're getting a guy who's getting up there long in the tooth, but has such strong football IQ and fundamentals and techniques. He's able to manage it, even though he's not quite the game-breaking Heisman Trophy candidate that both those gentlemen were playing in the NCAA.
Well, and just like the Peppers move, you go, how did we get here? Like, how does this opportunity even exist? And just like what the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to pick up, one man's trash, another man's treasure, coaches and front office guys, teammates, everyone wants to say and try to do the right thing when someone else is being shown the door. But this writing was on the wall when they were trying to move him before the draft, and then they went out, drafted two day two guys at edge, signed a free agent. You look at cap numbers, you look at dead money, you look at veteran leadership versus the future of a very young team that's probably not ready to be a contender. And so you got to find out what the young guys can do so they can all rise together. And that's one side of the team-based conversation. From the player-specific one, who else are you going to go get? And ain't nobody else walking through that door any younger than Jadeveon Clowney that's any better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to hear Jadeveon Clowney and think, man, that the guy didn't pile up sacks. Why are we even bringing him in? We should be going with the young guys. But I think this shows that the Cowboys internally believe they're not that far out from Philadelphia and they can win, but they have to, take more steps to make all of the games look like the second half and not like the first half. And I think it's a couple of things. Number one, it's discipline, it's experience, but it's also skill set with the edges that you have. After really 15 years post Bill Phillips and post Bill Parcells, this defensive line has just hunted pressures. That's really all they were built around with Rod Marinelli and Dan Quinn. And, Mike Zimmer was only here for a year, but this has been like a highlight reel type of defense where we're drafting edges that rush the passer and corners that can take the ball away, really ignoring the middle of the field outside of a couple of draft picks. And it's really a reclamation project for Schottenheimer to try to build a different defensive identity. Very impressed with what he's able to pull off just 1.5 weeks into his NFL coaching career.
Yeah, this is really cool. I was looking back through just, he's never been a 10 sack guy. And you go, well, how does a dude at this size, with this length, with this 40, and of course everyone remembers the hit, right, in the bowl game after the measurement where ball don't lie. It's the greatest ball don't lie of all time. Yeah. Rasheed Wallace's voice and Clowney making the biggest hit on that leads every Sports Center highlight show that you would want if you're going to go jacked up at all. And injuries from the outset. And at the same time, you go, every time this guy's played like 14 games, he's had 9.5, 9.5. And you go, okay, look at everything else that the Cowboys do have. Right? Everyone always, it's so easy to take the negative side of it and be focused on what a team does not have or what a player does not do. But I'm sitting here going, Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon, Dante Fowler Jr., Donovan Ezeraku, Houston, right? Talk about people being healthy. Talk about injuries derailing careers. Now you're talking about 6 legitimate professional edges where you can keep reps down and have dudes fresh and healthy for a postseason run. But if a turf monster or a cut block or something were to go wrong, you're protected on both sides.
Yeah, this is a great point. And I love, the idea of being able to go super heavy now with the defensive line, that if you are getting bullied, you can say, hey, maybe we're not going to rush the passer that well if we get a couple of sacks out of this front, this alignment with our personnel, great. But we'll be damned if we're going to let a team like Justin Fields and the Jets in week 5 run for 225 yards on us. You're going to have to prove that you can pass it. Maybe it keeps your linebackers clean. Lord knows we need to keep those linebackers clean. And maybe in a little bit we can talk about what else we would like to see the Cowboys do to get to the next level. The durability concerns are there. I don't know if you want this dude playing any more than 25 or 30 snaps a game. There have been motor questions throughout his career. He'll flash dominance and then disappear for stretches. And I don't know what you attribute that to, but maybe that's the reason he was really unable to hit his potential. It's hard to burn like TJ Watt or one of the absolute work rate monsters like a Sean Lee for, 3 hours on every Sunday. And only really the special ones can do it. Even they, get tired. Limited pass rush moves, I think, is another thing that sort of limited him. He's not a great technician like a Bosa or a Myles Garrett, but he can win with technique, speed, or power still, from what I've been watching this morning, Newbear.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me when you look at that, look at how many logos. Look at after he left Houston, it's almost annually where he's switching teams. So maybe all the things that you talked about, or just 3 of the 5, are true. And there have been motor issues, and there have for sure been injury issues, and there maybe is a limited bag that he's working with. You look at guys like LeBron James, who aren't great dribblers of the basketball, don't have a ton of moves because they're just so damn big and they're such physical specimens. That's who this guy has been his entire life. And he was like 20 years old coming out too. So when you think about the timeline that he was on, he was doing this stuff as one of the youngest guys in his class. And then everything went to hell in a handbasket when his body started breaking down. Now, at the end, whenever you talk about legacy, or whenever you talk about looking Father Time in the mirror and saying, I might not know how many reps are left, you don't think Donovan Ezeraku can benefit from this dude in the locker room? You don't think Donovan Ezeraku can pick this dude's brain and say, after they start playing Xbox or going out and having a beer or whatever it is that these guys do to connect off the field, like, how did it not work out in Houston? Or how hard was it to come back from this? Or, talk to me about how you turned it around and got right and came correct in Baltimore. Why were you successful? Why is that team so good year in and year out, no matter who they have?
Yeah, it can be a tough needle to thread. I mean, I guess he did spend 5 seasons in Houston. He went all the way through his 5th-year option, but it's tough when the media and the fans and maybe even some people internally are so massively disappointed that you're not a perennial All-Pro, and then your agent is talking to them like, hey, this is a former number 1 overall pick. He had 9.5 sacks his 4th season, 9 his 5th season. This is a guy that's about to break out and is still only 25 years old. You got to pay him like he's the top defensive end. So I think there's a lot that goes into having more of a transient career if you don't absolutely hit. But I mean, the Jabril Peppers analogy plays here as well, where after a decade or so, you're like, holy crap, I guess he's actually been one of the best 20 guys at his position his entire career. And yes, in the context of what we were expecting for the number 1 overall pick, a little bit disappointing, but damn good football player. And hopefully the Cowboys find a way to get pen to paper here this afternoon if they like what they see.
The thing that you have to like about this is that it's a limited market. It's probably not going to be a whole lot of money. It's not a long-term commitment. So if it doesn't work out for any of the reasons that we've discussed, you just move on. And it's another rotational piece in what is suddenly becoming a very deep defense.
Yeah, very deep defense. And, I think to further that, why this could work, and, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think maybe the most important thing here is going to be a physical. Maybe that's why Clarence Hill's sources aren't saying, hey, this is going to happen. Let me see if I can fire off a text to Broadus real quick, see if, what he's working on with this deal, if he's available to answer me before, we sign off, but maybe we'll come back tonight if this thing gets done. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let me say scheme alignment, snap count, right? You get those two things in order, and then you're looking at him as first down, maybe second down if it's a running down, and some third and short, fourth and short stuff. But I don't know how much I want him on the field for pass rush. I think you can really bring these guys in waves, and all 6 of them are going to benefit tremendously from being fresh come fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everyone talks about like QB1 to QB2. The drop off for almost every team is if the Buffalo Bills lose Josh Allen, they're no longer Super Bowl contenders. No one is taking them seriously with Mitchell Trubisky. But that is true from position to position in most cases. And think about how different of a story this defense was pre-Kenny Clark. Micah Parsons is gone. Long live Micah Parsons. He's going to be great in Green Bay. He's going to be great for as long as he wants to play. Kenny Clark is a different kind of difference maker. And is a bigger sum of all parts, rising tides, all ships thing than Micah Parsons alone. So now you go from having a Mozzie Smith busting Clark busting heads conversation. Now you go, okay, Sam, okay, Marshawn, okay, easy. Now those dudes get tired, or one of those dudes has a sprained ankle, and now it's third down and it's week 7 or whatever the case may be. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, if you're one of the other front-running teams that they're going to have to go through to win the East or to come through the NFC or to ultimately get where you want to be for the first time in 30 years, you know what makes it a lot easier to do that? When whoever else is lining up at left tackle, left guard, center, across the line playing the piano doesn't get a play off because you're just coming, hunting, wrecking game plans.
Yeah, so Brada says it looks like they're kicking tires right now, which could mean a couple of things. Number one, they're literally just seeing what their options are. But number two, with how budget conscious the Cowboys are, they're putting out the word that we're not going to give a lot of money to the player. The agent can't be thinking this is a time to get my client paid. If he wants to come here, incentive deal, with games played, with, Pro Bowl incentives, with stuff like that, we can do that. But we don't want to put out there that, oh boy, we need Jadeveon Clowney and this guy is the missing piece and we got to get him signed. I think maybe some fans and media are excited about the possibility, but when you get that kind of message back, this could ultimately result in the player leaving the building and finding himself in a Philadelphia or Detroit, later on today, or later on in the week.
He signed a 2-year, $24 million deal in 24. Carolina, I think he still counts like $6 million in dead cap, but I think they save almost $8 million, $7.8 million. It's a really interesting cap situation. But the one of the thing I was just checking real quick was to try to see. I wanted to put a number to it, but when you start talking about making $100+ million, like this dude should be good. The question becomes, what logo, what situation, what environment does he think gives him the best chance to go get that ring?
Oh yeah, and if you're thinking along those lines, I would be thinking Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo.
Right.
Back to Baltimore.
It's Green Bay and Detroit for me, because you're talking about those two teams are at war with each other for the division. And that might be another situation the same way that we talked about, the AFC North or even the NFC East, depending on how some of the stuff shakes out. If you could go from having 3 teams in to you have to win the division because they're only getting 1 because of attrition. And you're going to have those two guys head to head against each other. So if you're Clowney's agent right now and the Cowboys let him leave the star and they're putting things out, through the sidebar or through the subtext of a tweet, then all of a sudden is there a bidding war in the NFC North?
Yeah, there could be. And, just to add to that a little bit more, I guess kicking tires could also be literally a vehicle pulls in, you're kicking the tires to see how it holds up, how sound it is. That might be physical stuff as well. Okay, up next here on How About Wow, what else would we like to see the team getting after? I don't know if free agency is where we want to go. I'm excited to start hearing about the trade market. We probably have to wait at least 3 more weeks, maybe 5 more weeks before the trade market begins to mature. But I think pure slot wide receiver is desperately what this offense needs. Inside linebacker in a Sean Lee mold or Rolando McClain style, a production monster. I know they're going to get Overshown back. I'm feeling good now that you have Diggs and Bland back. I think you're still depending on Kaiir Elam. From my perspective, Newbear, agree or disagree, in today's NFL, you can't have just placeholder spots in your lineup. I don't think you are going to beat significantly better quarterbacks or significantly better roster constructions with a top heavy type of deal with replacement level guys scattered about. I think they still have probably 4 too many of those, and I wouldn't want to try to squeeze through with more than 1 or 2.
Well, no, it's because it's 11 on 11. When you start talking about it, you try to find the one matchup on every play where you say, where am I better? Right? Like the Joe Burrow quote that I always love so much is he goes, fuck it, Jamar was down there somewhere. Right? Like at the end of the day, you get to a point where if you got to make a play, you know who the guy is when it becomes dire straits. Talking about depth and attrition, the healthiest team is usually the best team. The best team is usually the healthiest team. The best team doesn't always win because the NFL, unlike any other sport, is the war of attrition. And in basketball, with 5 guys on the court, or in any individual sport, right, where you start talking about, oh, I'm going to go out here and work this dude, and then you end up, how do you lose to a replacement level guy, or you see like a number 1 tennis player or lose to someone who is ranked 1,000th in the world? How does that happen, right? When you get into the team situation, 11 on 11, and we talk so much about how all 11 guys, right, like the weakest link in the chain can derail the whole damn thing because all it takes is one dude being wrong to wreck the whole game plan. Now, the opposite thing suddenly becomes really true, where you have guys stepping in and out of roles where, like, if Toya, who looks like he can be a solid rotational piece behind Kenny Clark, and it's no longer a Mozzie Smith or bust, not just Mozzie Smith is a bust, but that's all we got. Now you start going, how do you get greedy? Because I was talking about some of the stuff vis-a-vis Pittsburgh Steelers having a very similar conversation with their problem with Keanu Benton, and the Bills Mafia sent out this morning. They signed the Phil Mathis kid, the big nasty guy who hasn't been able to seem to get it all together just quite yet, out of Alabama, and he's on their practice squad. Because I was looking at the scrap heap stuff with free agents right now is even worse the further inside you go on both sides of the line. There's old dudes and there's no dudes. And I'm not even talking about being able to just throw money at a problem or throw, good money after bad or bad money after good. There aren't a lot of guys available right now. So like Green Bay Packers, for example, send Kenny Clark out. Lucas Van Ness kicked inside and played a handful of snaps at defensive tackle, not nose per se, but they're still trying to figure some things out. But they got a big ass dude, Nazir Stackhouse, who only got 8 reps in goal line and short yardage. You're literally doing that level of digging now on other teams' rosters, saying, is there a former second-round pick who's in his second, third, fourth year who just hasn't been able to put it together yet? And what is it going to take to go bolster our depth that way? I mean, that's the level and the shape that this conversation takes once you get past those top guys who still exist, like a Clowney.
How about Wow, brought to you by Bet Online. It is not easy to get down in the great state of Texas. There's ways around it, but Bet Online to me is the best. Fastest payouts guaranteed. They've been in the game for a long time. A+ rating review, unmatched game integrity, and right now, bonus referral link in the description, up to $250 in free bets if you sign up with us here on How About Wow. And you're going to love it. The sports, casino, the race book, the poker tournaments, the esports, all kind of contests and promos and giveaways. You're going to love it over here at Bet Online, and salute to them for sponsoring the show. We'll be back soon with more Cowboys updates and headlines. Till then, how about wow?